how long does a typical call last?
It varies. Some fires are very straightforward and easy to figure out. Some of them are really, really complicated. And so, for example, an easy fire, you get to the house. You can kind of tell based when you get there, based on the conditions of the house, is smoke coming out of the backside? Is it coming out of the corner? Is it blowing out the front window? It's pretty easy to identify where the fire is from the outside. So an easy fire, you can see where it is from the outside, pull your line, make quick attack inside, put it out. Everybody high fives, we take our picture in front of the bumper, and then we all go home.
And how long does that take if it's easy?
Bread and butter fire, you're there for hour and a half. Oh. Most of that is just cleanup.
Okay.
Cleanup and investigation by the fire marshals. But something that is difficult and complicated and, you could be for hours. You can be there. So we had a massive apartment fire down Highway 3. It was the Harbor Point Apartments. So we got the call, I think it was just before 5 a.m. We just got the call. It's still dark outside. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. We get there, we pull up. I turn on all the lights on the truck because it's got all these, you have your flashing lights, but you'll also have what's called scene lights. And so they're just like big, bright lights that's just going to light up the area around you. So we park. I hit all my scene lights and look over, and this apartment, every inch of the roof, they're called soffits that's underneath the roof. Every inch is just chugging out this thick black smoke. And so right when you see that, you're like, oh, no.
Yeah. How many times have you seen that in your career?
That was the first time.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. That was about a month ago.
And how long have you been doing this?
4 years.
Okay.
Jeez.
Yeah. So from the time we got there to about maybe 20 minutes later, there's a 100-foot tall flame burning through the middle of the roof. So what ended up happening was there was some kind of electrical problem with the water heater. It had been burning for about an hour before anybody noticed. There was people inside the apartment that, have reported waking up at, 4:30, 4 a.m. and smelling smoke, but not seeing any. So what ended up happening was it was in the walls. So it's in these shared walls and then got into the subfloor, which then ultimately got into the shared attic. It was basically an open attic space. So once it gets into that open attic space, it's just free oxygen, free game. It's exactly what a fire needs. So once it gets to that point, it's see you later.
Oh, my gosh.
So that was by far the most difficult fire that I have ever been to and I have ever faced. So we got there just before 5 a.m. and we didn't leave until about 2 p.m.
Gee.
We were there all night long, all day, making sure the fire was out. And unfortunately, that building was basically, I don't want to say burned to the ground, but that building was pretty much burned down.
Yeah, I mean, break down that scene for us. Like, what is that like? Like entering that scenario. I'm curious from a psychology perspective, like what's going through your mind, a physical perspective, how your body's performing. The combination of those two things, I'm sure, is very difficult. Because you were talking about training earlier. The first thing that comes to my mind is training for a fire as a firefighter is the combination of mental and physical work.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're just doing a workout, it's very physical. You're not thinking about very much. The only thing you're thinking about is how many reps, right?
Yeah.
It's very easy.
Yeah.
And then you have, mental things where, I can sit down and I can focus, but I'm not having to do anything physical. So it's easy to focus. But in this situation that you just laid out, we have to figure out what to do while also putting our bodies through this crazy physical demand. So
it is
what is that like?
It is extreme intensity, extreme demand that's put on your body. With something like that incident in particular, there's kind of a different perspective among drivers. Some people think, as a driver, when you get to the fire, all you got to do is, pull your lever, give your guys water. My fire department, my shift, me personally as a driver, I want to elevate this role. I want to make it, how do we take the driver role and make it better? How do we become more proficient? How do we make the fire ground better for the other firefighters? So when we get there, we're taking these heavy ladders off the truck. We're putting them out the building because the guys are going inside. If they find somebody inside or if they need to make an emergency exit out of a window, I want them to have some way to get out. So having ladders at windows, ladders at different points, you may be able to go in through the front door and something can quickly change and you can't come out that way.
So even if they don't need the ladder right now, you're preparing in case they need it later.
Mm-hmm.
Got you.
Yeah. And then for the guys that are inside, we have to carry these heavy tools. The air pack and the gear itself is heavy. Your gear altogether, your helmet, your air pack, your bunker gear, it's like an extra 100 pounds just right off the bat. Before carrying in a tool, you're expected to carry in at least 2 tools as well.
Tool, like what kind of tools are you talking about?
So everybody's expected to carry a tool. Some guys carry, we call them, for just the simplest term, we call it a hook. It's a big, long metal bar, and it has, these little hooks at the end of it. So we'll use that for, we're looking for a fire. We'll say something's burning in this room. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to poke a hole. So we'll start tearing out some of these ceiling tiles, and we'll try to expose to see if there's a fire. Because we've been to other fires where, it doesn't look like there's anything. There might be a light little smoky haze, but you poke a hole in the ceiling and you're like, oh, shoot, it's right there. Mm-hmm. We got to open this up and, squirt some water at this. So that's one of the tools that they use. Another tool is they have this, we call it a water can. It basically looks like a fire extinguisher, but it's silver and it has like a long hose on it. It's a long black hose. So that only carries 2.5 gallons of water, and but it'll last about 60 seconds of continuous spray, and it'll put out a ton of fire. It's
Something special about the water that's in there?
So it's pressurized with air as well. So you have to pour in your 2.5 gallons, and then you have to fill the remainder of that. You have to use a little air compressor. Mm. So you have pressure to push the water out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you say tool, I'm thinking of like an axe, like when I'm thinking of a firefighter.
So that's another set. So we call it a set of irons. Traditionally, it is a Halligan, which is kind of a mixture of a prying, poking. It's got these forks. It's kind of the multi-tool. It's kind of like the Swiss Army knife of firefighting tools. You can use it for all kinds of different things. So a set of irons is the Halligan and some kind of striking tool, either an axe. There's a lot of updates in fire technology tools. So one thing that we carry, it's called a pig. It looks like an axe, but instead of a blade, it is a blunt, just a blunt end that looks like a fist, basically. So imagine taking an axe and just cutting off the blade.
So it's not sharp.
Flat. Yeah, it's just totally flat.
And that's just for taking down walls, or
taking down walls, busting in doors, breaking windows, whatever you need it to do.
Yeah, and that one sounds heavy.
They're all heavy. Yeah, they are all heavy tools. There is nothing light about anything that we do.
Yeah. Before we, I have lots more questions about the incident and like what's going through your mind and stuff. But you mentioned this role of driver. I'm curious, like how many roles are there?
So think about firefighting as a team sport. I feel like a lot of what we do, training, we compare it. We try to find some kind of sports analogy, right? Every team, every guy has a different role. Everybody's has a different role for the same purpose. It's the same thing with firefighting. Every guy on that truck has a different role. You have a different assignment. You have a different tool that you're assigned to depending on where you sit. You have a different assignment depending on where you sit. So where you sit on that truck, if you go to a fire, if you go to a car accident, if you go to anything that we do, there is an assignment specifically to that seat that you're expected to do and do well when you go to any call.